When Assassin's Creed Shadows was released in 2025, it was the culmination of a period of internal problems within Ubisoft, and the desire to bring the Creed franchise back to what it had been years before the Red project was even conceived of. Even after its release, the receptions to and of the game were divisive, and it was not even considered to be a true success for the company. But the speculative scenario is this: the controversial depiction of Yasuke in Assassin's Creed Shadows. Ubisoft intentionally wanted to have one of the main characters in Shadows to be something new and different when in comparison to prior games shown from previous examples with the Creed franchise. But from information now known, this was clearly intentional to distract critics and players from past mistakes within previous games, and to focus attention on their build ambitions for the Assassin's Creed Red project, which was later remade into Assassin's Creed Shadows. Rumors even hollered that the rebranding of Shadows was to create an immersive feeling to potential players, and to continue to rebrand the Creed franchise for new or casual players. Even before Shadows' release, the depiction of Yasuke within Japanese culture was an extraordinarily sensitive issue, from claims that he did not technically exist to begin with, or that there was a Yasuke, but nothing like what was depicted or considered to be fact from the United States or European points of view. Whenever historical figures adopted for media, there are always liberties taken or removed when making the said adaptation. Initial claims holder that Ubisoft would be doing nearly everything from their own portrayal. Initial claims holder that Ubisoft would be doing nearly everything in terms of a depiction for Yasuke as their own. And when they announced as such of the semi-historical figure, there were little further examples for the media to report on. This was intentional to avoid criticisms of their planning or interpretation of and for the character, and naturally to avoid further controversies with the game before its release. Online discussions eventually became online criticisms, and even when news about the depiction of Yasuke were slowly being made public, Japanese and even Western sources made complaints about the sheer lack of historical accuracy with the character, and even the depiction of Japan within Shadows. Ubisoft originally desired for a historically correct gaming experience with Shadows, but as the game progressed, as it was being developed, it was slowly turned into a more fictional and exaggerated depiction of Japan, as well as Japanese people or Japanese events, until public claims were made that the game was a clear work of fiction, or nothing at all in the game were to be taken seriously. News about the game became such a concern that discussions later held the Japanese government look into development on conditions for the game itself. Ubisoft was naturally afraid of the negative attention that Shadows was receiving, and made formal apologies and declarations to the Japanese government that there were no insults against the samurai of Japan, or historical figures naturally appearing within the game. Ubisoft even made further declarations that any slander against the game could have resulted in legal actions taken by the company to organizations due to how much the game meant to Ubisoft, as well as its attempt to reinvent the Assassin's Creed franchise. The criticisms and outright anger towards Ubisoft even forced the company to slightly minimize the importance or depiction of Yasuke in the game, naturally focusing on the other main character, Naoe, when, according to consensus, the original concept for the game meant to have Yasuke as the clear main focus. Even when the game was later released, sentiment about it had become so divisive that patches were later put upon the game to further change aspects of it and arguably censor details from within it. While the game was considered to be a minor success in Western nations in terms of revenue, it sold poorly within Japan, and it became the most negatively viewed or interpreted installment of the Assassin's Creed franchise in Asian markets. A final bit of irony had it that due to all of the negative perceptions with Shadows, Ubisoft later brought out updates for other Assassin's Creed games released before Shadows, as this was later interpreted as players preferring to spend their time on previous games rather than to deal with the controversial Assassin's Creed Shadows experience.